Alright, so we're back in the world of Path of Exile 2, and today guys, I want to do a video on just my thoughts about Path of Exile 2. It's going to be titled something to the effect of my final thoughts because if you don't know, I'm a variety content creator and I will be covering some upcoming games that are really big. A lot of you probably even like some of these. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 within the next week, as well as Monster Hunter Wilds in like literally 30 days from now. So obviously we're going to be taking some breaks from Path of Exile 2, going to play some other games. I wanted to leave you guys with my final thoughts on the game because, I mean, at this point I've been playing for about 2 months. I've killed just short of every Pinnacle boss besides the Expedition guy and the Delirium guy. And so I have a pretty good grasp of understanding of the game, and I've killed everything. There's really nothing more for me to do until some major updates come. Of course, we're going to be coming back to Path of Exile 2 like we've done in many different leagues in PoE 1, but it's time to take a break. Don't want to burn out. If you are a regular watcher of the channel, we played a lot of the first Ascendant and burned ourselves out pretty heavily, so I'm trying to avoid the burnout. On our next playthrough, we'll probably focus on killing Delirium and Expedition, but that's probably going to be sometime in like March or April, depending on how things go. With that in mind, I've had a blast with Path of Exile 2 so far. The game has been pretty damn phenomenal. In my current thought right now, I feel like Path of Exile 2 is the second or third best ARPG on the market, behind Path of Exile 1, and a very strong argument for Last Epoch because of the crafting and the in-game system is more refined than PoE 2. We'll talk about some of that stuff in the in some of the parts of this video. But overall, Path of Exile 2 is a phenomenal game. $30 investment, well worth it. Like I said, I'm at 600 hours and probably a few 10,000 more hours to come in Path of Exile 2, so very worthwhile. Big fan of it. So yeah, I just wanted to just have my thoughts out there, just talk about it, what I like, what I don't like, things I'd like to see change by the time I come back or by the time the game fully launches, and that kind of stuff. So overall, initially when I first started playing Path of Exile 2, I was a little worried about the overall difficulty of the game because it was very punishing and it's real hard to get into. I still think it's a little too punishing, but as you actually play it and you start to learn it, it gets much easier to play. Like, I can level a character from 0 to pretty much like 80 in probably, I don't know, 10 hours realistically. So, you know, I've gotten a lot faster, as you probably come to expect from playing the game. But I still think the barrier of entry is going to be a little bit harder for new players, especially if they start playing characters like the warriors or something, because I kind of know how I want to level a warrior and I can do it much faster. But, you know, something like a warrior versus a merc or a ranger is significantly harder, and a lot of people like the archetype. So I still think there needs to be a little bit more love in the leveling, but I do think they're getting better at it. I think once we get another campaign, the other 3 parts of the campaign, we'll probably start seeing, like, you know, more refined campaign. That's probably part of the reason why it feels a little weird right now. But yeah, still, the campaign's really cool. I love the boss design of the campaign. If I'm being honest, this is just me, I found the campaign to be way more enjoyable than the in-game of Path of Exile 2. Just me personally. I like the act bosses. They felt really cool. They had their own theme. Like the first guy, the wolf guy, he's super cool. I didn't like the lightning eye as much, and then what's his name, Doriani, really cool boss fight. But overall, like, they've done a phenomenal job on the campaign. I'm excited to see what they do with the campaign for the next 3 acts, or 4, 5, and 6. So yeah, big fan of it. Of course, you know, the team has done a good job with all the individual classes. There's still quite a few to come out. Right now, we do have a good amount of diversity. We do lack some of the more crucial weapons, in my opinion. For example, the warrior being forced to play mace, in my opinion, is part of the reason why warrior feels pretty mediocre. Axes, swords, and that kind of stuff is, in my opinion, always been pretty important to warrior classes because they're just better weapons. I don't hate the mace weapons, but, you know, I would love to definitely see those weapons come into play. Obviously, the game isn't complete, so that's probably part of the reason why warrior feels pretty bad right now. But the classes that we have now, they're all really cool and unique. I'm genuinely curious to see how they introduce the druid. I'm assuming their ascendancies is going to be something like maybe like a animal summoner, some type of shapeshifter, or some type of magical user. I don't know how they're going to do the druid, because the druid as a archetype is already an archetype that tends to have like a variety of like skills and stuff. But I'm excited to see how they implement druid, probably more than any other class. That's the one I'm most interested in seeing, just simply because of how drastic some of these classes are for one another, and they actually feel vastly different. But yeah, I think they've done an excellent job at the individual classes. I'm a big fan of everything I've seen with them so far. Been playing the Blood Mage. I've been playing the Mercenary. I played him like a monk, essentially, kind of with monk skills. And honestly, the amount of diversity in the builds are really really cool, despite some of the shortcomings when we talk about armor and all that other stuff. One of the biggest problems I personally have with Path of Exile, which obviously we're going to be talking about, is the end game. I don't really like the Atlas system, and I'm a content creator who's always tried to be straightforward with you guys. I don't beat around the bush when I think something. I don't have any connection with grinding your game, so I don't have an incentive to be nice. Not that I'm being rude, but I just don't like the end game. It just doesn't feel as good. It feels kind of forced and not complete, and that's probably because it's not complete. But right now, in this current state, I'm not a big fan of the end game, and I think it's actually the weakest part of the game, with the campaign being the strongest part, which is actually kind of crazy to me because I came in, I was like, I think the campaign is going to be the weakest and the end game is going to be the strongest. But now, actually, after putting like 600 hours into the game, it's good. I see that the end game is actually the weakest in my opinion, and the early game is the best. And I think I see this comment a lot from a lot of you. Is like, I played through the campaign, I had a good time, I had fun. But once I got to the end game, didn't really see a lot of value in it, and I kind of wanted to move on. And that's kind of where I'm at now. Of course, I'm gonna always come back, but I kind of feel that, too, because a lot of times what I'm doing in the end game now is just pathing to the light beams of light, being annoyed at the different maps I have to go through, and it doesn't feel very fun to me, if I'm being honest. Forced mapping is never fun, and I think that's a drastic difference from Path of Exile 1, because if you ever played PoE 1, the mapping system is so much more simplistic and more refined, and I think there's a combination of reasons why it feels better in PoE 1. One, the map layout and design is so much better. It's straightforward. You go through, you kill enemies. There's some like maps that have like a roundabout, some center, but it's not overly big. And then of course you have a lot of mobility. You're able to actually get through the map, which is kind of cool. PoE 2, obviously you don't have that. A lot of times it's this huge massive area, bigger than PoE 1, with way less mobility. So you're in a situation where you're spending way more time in maps. To be quite frank, I don't really like. There's only like maybe 6, 7 I like of the ones that we have. The bosses are cool, but the maps are not very fun to do. I actually thought I would like the whole going in and not always fighting a boss thing. Actually, I'm not a big fan of that, if I'm being honest. I actually prefer the way where it was always a unique boss at the end of the map. I think that was much more healthy and much more fun. I think Asmongold said something like that like a month ago or something, and I actually agree now after spending 600 hours. I really like actually fighting the unique bosses. I think they always brought something unique to the table, and now just going in and clearing maps, they feel kind of like a chore to me, if I'm being honest, and I don't really like that as much. I definitely like to see maybe more unique bosses added to the game. I know they added the tablet recently, but I feel like that's kind of a band-aid solution. You guys can let me know down in the comments what you think about that one specifically, but for me, I prefer just having a unique boss at the end. That felt way more fun to me. Now, since I did mention something about the tablets, I think the biggest problem I currently have with Path of Exile 2's in-game mat list system is just the tablets. I mean, I don't really like the whole going to the stone, juicing up the area, killing maps you don't like, which is kind of weird, being forced to play things you don't like or things that don't work really well with the system, juicing up all the different areas. It spends so much time trying to like actively make the area playable, and then you get all the tablets, you have to sustain, and then after that you go kill the map and hope you get some good stuff, and you go look around more for these kind of areas. I don't really like that gameplay loop. That feels very unfun. I really prefer the Path of Exile 1, where you just go get the maps that you want to do. You clear each map for your completion, and then you play what you really enjoy playing. I think that's way more freedom of choice than you have in PoE 2, where you kind of are forced to do things. And I think that's part of the reason why I don't really like the Atlas system as much. Going to the bosses are cool, but I actually really like the randomness of having maps that had like influences of different, like the Hydra, or having this kind of thing. Sometimes facing off against the Redeemer, or whoever at the same time. That was always something that was cool that kind of dropped in. Now it's kind of, I guess, deterministic that you can go face off against like some of these bigger, I don't know if you would call like the different location with the beam of light pentacle boss. I don't think those guys are pentacle bosses. I think they're just like elite unique bosses. I don't know what their classification is, but they're not pentacle bosses, obviously. I don't really like that system as much because it feels kind of it takes away from the like surprise factor of, you know, facing off against the different bosses. And also, I'm not a big fan of how the in-game systems actually work now. Man, they really gutted strong boxes. I came off of Path of Exile 1, like right before PoE 2. I came in and played a lot of like strong boxes, really heavy, and I juiced them up at the ambush scarabs. And man, I would go into a map and I was pulling like 20 chaos to like well, what's the currency exchange? I don't know. It was like a lot. I was getting divines and stuff like every map, man. It was so fun to like super juice and like just go through and just like farm loot. And you don't really see those big loot explosions like you've seen in Path of Exile 1, which I miss a lot of. But you know, maybe we need more time. Maybe they'll add scarabs and they'll add more things to the map. But currently, not a massive fan of the Atlas. I think right now, without spending too much more time talking about the subject, Atlas has been a little underwhelming for me, and I hope to see more changes coming from the Atlas. The other thing I think really is not something I really like right now, and hope that whenever I return, they can get on top of it a little bit more, and that's just the balance overall. The balance is not great, not only just from the character balance, but even the in-game systems. I'll talk about the in-game systems real quick because this isn't very long. For example, Audience with the King is not Audience with the King, but Ritual is so damn hard to really make it work. I really wish they can just take a hard look at it. I know recently they buffed the omens, but as I said in one of my posts on Twitter, as well as, you know, my previous video, like that's not really the problem. And obviously, Breach being so damn strong, everyone does it, and almost no one really does Ritual realistically who wants to gain currency. Really wish the team could get on top of that and look at the numbers and recognize the problem, which I know the problem. I put it in the video. Hopefully they can like take some feedback about that. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the imbalances of the in-game league systems. It really makes it a one-dimensional playstyle. And I want to say, from all these criticisms I'm giving, I know some players will say that this is early access, and it definitely is, and they're probably going to be making some tweaks and changes, but you do have to keep in mind that a lot of these things were in Path of Exile 1. Like, most of the stuff I talked about being poorly balanced, and I'm going to talk about in a second being poorly balanced, are kind of the things I would already done in Path of Exile 1, and in a lot of cases done correctly. So, you know, to see it deviate and go back to just being broken is... my tolerance is a little bit lower, I guess, considering it's already been, like, fixed or was good. But yeah, I really want the in-game systems to really actually mean something, because right now, outside of maybe Delirium and then Breach, Expedition, the strong boxes, and Ritual feels pretty damn bad. And honestly, I feel a little bit butthurt that I put a lot of effort into Ritual. I think I spent like 2 or 3 days really trying to make Ritual work, and I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but I play like 10-hour days, so you know. That's like 30 hours. So, you know, I was a little salty about that. Hopefully they can get on top of that and, you know, make the game feel a lot better. And then, of course, the imbalances in the classes. You know, the armor thing is an ongoing problem. The melee thing is an ongoing problem. It's been an ongoing problem for as long as I can remember. Path of Exile 1 actually kind of solved for this in one of the more recent updates, where melee feels pretty okay. It is good. It feels good. I'm really unsure about the design decisions they've made in PoE 2. I'm not sure if this is just like Jonathan or who it is that's making the decisions on trying to make melee feel good or make armor feel good, or these things feel good. Obviously they're still pretty bad. I think Karn recently put out a video. I don't think I know it because I edited the damn video. Karn recently put a video out talking about armor today or yesterday, depending on when I release this video. I recommend you guys go check it out and see, you know, his thoughts on it. I think he actually has some really good solutions to fixing it, and you know, that would be really nice. But yeah, armor is in a bad place, melee is still in a bad place. I still think it needs more weapons, but right now warrior is still obviously the worst. The same sad song and dance, warriors in the worst. Mages and rangers are the best, you know, the same old. Really want to see that be fixed before I come back. That would be really nice, because honestly, that's another thing that's super frustrating. I really want to play warrior, but I don't want to feel like a second hand or a second class citizen playing the game, which obviously warrior in those classes definitely are for sure. The crafting system, Path of Exile 2's crafting system is just shit. I'm sorry, there's really not much more to say to it. I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of like videos about it. I echo the same sentiment when it comes to the crafting system. It's just not It's not well put together. I don't know if they just didn't have time to put it in, or they really want to take it in the direction that they're taking it right now with this really crappy R&D system. I really hope they don't, because honestly, I don't see myself putting a lot of effort into Path of Exile 2 if they don't refine the crafting system in a meaningful way. If they double down on the stupidity with the current system with just like random RNG nonsense, I don't personally see myself playing Path of Exile 2 as much as I did PoE 1, simply because I just think that's just laziness, in my opinion. I think it's laziness, and I think it's stubbornness if you don't have a proper crafting system, because we know it works. But that's just my thoughts. You know, I always try to be honest with you guys. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Path of Exile 2 overall. As I said, guys, I'll be revisiting Path of Exile 2 probably sometime in March, maybe. We'll see. I know Clear Obscure Expedition 33 comes out in March, so I may be really busy with that game. But I'll be revisiting it whenever there's like a major update for something, maybe a new class coming into the game, because there should be some coming out soon. That kind of stuff. That's when you'll see me returning to PoE 2. But let me know, guys, what you think down in the comments. Leave me a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want to stay tuned for some Monster Hunter Clay Obscure Expedition 33, The Last Berserk, and possibly Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I don't know if I'm going to cover it. I don't even know how I would make content for that game, but we'll be covering that in the next coming weeks. So hope to see you guys there on the live streams and everything. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Leave me your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one very soon.